There's a quote made by Julia Child that really resonated with me all those years ago. She said, "Cooking is like love. It should be entered into with abandon or not at all." It's carpe diem, seize the day, guys. And I find my recipe for a farmer's stew really embodies everything that Julia Child taught me as a kid. So for the recipe, head on over to kcknh.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. One of the basic principles for decades, if not centuries, is that on a global scale, there was never any waste. Everything was used. In some fashion, everything had to be used because, let's face it, wasting anything was certainly something you didn't want to do, especially when times were tough. Whether it was the meats, the produce, the herbs, you grabbed what you could and used what you had. And this still uses some of the most basic ingredients. We're talking your choice of proteins, we're doing mirepoix, I've got some stewed tomatoes, and I've got some other ingredients that go into this, like tomato sauce, wine, stock, garlic, Herbs de Provence, kosher salt and black pepper. A lot of this is easy to find. And you get to take charge of this. So you could do beef, pork, chicken, or mushroom. Do soup stock that's not in a box. And there's a variety of red wine you can consider. And of course, if you can't do wine, there's always some substitutions, but it doesn't always give you the same result. So right away, we are working with a mirepoix. So carrots, celery, onion. We're going to add some potato to this pot simply because we want to create almost a stew-like consistency. So use whatever potato you prefer. You really do want to go with something that's not going to dissolve after cooking in a fluid. So in the pot, we're working with medium-high heat. Ultimately, we want to hit this with the salt and pepper early. We're going to add more ingredients to this, so don't worry about the amounts I'm putting in. You're in charge of how much you want to put in. That's going to be your call, just like your choice of the proteins to use, or if you're looking to adapt this, you could use mushroom. And we're working with a fresh ground chuck that I got at the local grocery store. It's kind of nice. I can get any type of roast and I can get it ground up free of charge, which is wicked awesome. And we're just going to toss this around in the pan. You're going to get a facial. Enjoy it. I always do. And we just want to make sure that we're not going to end up with anything burned in this pot. So you are going to have to babysit this for a little bit. Now I'm hitting this with Herbs de Provence, which is a collection of herbs more commonly known in the southern region of France. There's some floral notes to this. It's really a beautiful blend. You may have some out there that will have some rosemary, marjoram, thyme. You may even have some that will have tarragon, lavender. It just really depends on where you go and get it. And I'm just eyeballing the onion powder for this. Basically, we want to bring out some of the most herby, gardeny flavors, and this really does do it justice. That's served very well. So we're going to make sure everything is evenly coated. And as you cook this, you may start smelling a browning effect, and we're developing a fond. That's the basic brownie principle bits that you're going to get at the bottom of the pot. And that's okay. We're going to develop this, and this is why you got to babysit this. You have to stir constantly. We want to be able to control the amount of heat everything takes. So after about 5, maybe 7 minutes cooking off those vegetables, we're going to hit that with the ground chuck. Use whatever ground beef you want if you go the beef route. If you want to use steak tips, just make sure that you're mindful of the sizing of the tips. Same thing goes with chicken or pork. Just be mindful. Your cuts are very important. I'm making it easy because we were in the mood for some ground beef. So I'm adding some pureed garlic to this. I only used a little bit of water just to get some fluid in there. It's going to cook off wicked fast. And I eyeballed the garlic as well. If you're looking for a certain amount of garlic, just start with like 2 to 3 cloves and go from there, because eventually you're going to have to taste test this. And in fact, you should be taste testing everything you make and making the necessary adjustments. Because sometimes as you add more ingredients, you may have to make more adjustments to adding more spices. Now right here, we're finding that we've achieved a beautiful fond. So at this point, we really want to make sure that we've added that wine because we're going to deglaze the pan. The fond at the bottom of that pan is going to be delicious and very satisfying. Make sure you're going ahead and stirring this, you're scraping the bottom. You want that wine to hit everything so your fond is coming up and making some beautiful flavors come to life here. After about another 5 minutes, we're going to hit this with the tomato sauce. I have my own supply of homemade tomato sauce. I can't recommend a brand of the market because, to be honest, I don't use it. But just go with the flow. Do what's easiest for you guys. I like to keep things made from scratch simply because I want to control the amount of spices that are going into the food, especially salt. And with this tomato sauce, you are going to lose some heat, and that's okay. Go ahead and make sure you're mixing up your batch. And you still want to babysit this. Don't be walking away. And you should start seeing some changes to the potato at this point. You'll notice the potato is no longer the bright white fleshy color that it used to be. So we're almost at that point we can add our stewed tomatoes to this. Again, I make my own stewed tomatoes. It's up to you on what you want to do. Before you add them, taste test your product. And then now we're going to hit it with the stewed tomatoes. I like to hand crush them. My hands are clean, so don't be freaking out. I'm at home. But we're going to add as many stewed tomatoes as you want. I love the flavor. The gardening flavor that comes from tomatoes is just ridiculous. It's a house favorite. And the best part about this, I think, is it's a great way to use some leftovers. Or if you're looking at a budget issue, this is a very cost-effective recipe you can make. And it's entirely in your court on how you want to take this. Look at the beautiful colors of this. And the basic principle, you're putting a fresh homemade meal on the table. So let's take a look at how these ingredients came together. And voila, we have the most beautiful farmer's stew. Fresh ingredients to this delicious stew. I actually pan-fried up some bread with a little bit of olive oil and garlic for Dunkin', and it totally hit the spot. So go take a look at the recipe, give it a shot, guys, and let me know if I can help you. And please enjoy cooking.